We need Greenland for national security purposes. If those hostages aren't back, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Donald Trump is all set for his second term. We can't say it'll be good, but we can say it will be entertaining. Remember those whirlwind Trump pressers from the pandemic? Well, they're back. He spoke to the media in Florida yesterday. It was billed as a pre-inauguration press conference, but frankly, it was a warning shot. To whom? Practically everyone. Allies, rivals, friends, enemies, all of them are on Donald Trump's radar. He began with a low-hanging fruit, a promise to rename the Gulf of Mexico.
So we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate.
Can he do that? In US documents, maybe they can call it the Gulf of America or whatever they want, but other countries do not have to follow because the US does not own this Gulf. It is not some inland lake or river. It is shared between Mexico, the US, and Cuba. We have global agencies to name such water bodies. Donald Trump alone cannot rename it. No point complaining, though, because unilateralism was the theme of Trump's presser. After water bodies, he turned to land. Trump is trying to take over 3 countries/regions, Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. And he is not ruling out military action.
Your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security.
Well, where do we start? Trump is talking about forceful land grabs, using the military to take over the Panama Canal and Greenland. Now, Greenland belongs to Denmark, and Denmark is a NATO ally. So Trump is basically threatening to attack a fellow NATO member. I don't think their charter covers that. And his argument is flawed. Trump says he needs Greenland for national security. But that's a slippery slope argument. Your national security cannot come at the cost of someone else's sovereignty. Putin is using the same argument in Ukraine. Xi Jinping will use the same argument in Taiwan. But before you know it, it's invasion galore. Plus, there is no evidence of a threat. It's not like China is deploying military assets on Greenland or Denmark is cozying up to China. None of that is happening. In fact, it is the Americans who already have a base on Greenland. So Trump's concern is imaginary. Of course, Denmark cannot mock the incoming US president, so they're politely rejecting his offer.
I, as a very close ally to the United States, think there is a reason to be pleased with the growing interest from the USA. But it has to go off in a way that is respectful towards the population of Greenland.
Next, we have the Panama Canal, built by the Americans in the last century, but now operated by Panama. 40% of America's trade passes through this canal, but Trump has 2 complaints. 1, that Panama charges them too much, and 2, that Chinese soldiers are manning the canal, which, by the way, is false. His solution? Take over the canal, possibly with force.
The Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way.
And finally, we have Canada. It started off as a joke to mock Justin Trudeau, but now Trump seems quite serious about it.
We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it?
The Canadians have had enough. Even Justin Trudeau has grown a spine. He says there's a snowball's chance in hell that Canada will join the US, and that's the first time in years that Trudeau has made sense. But Canada is not off the hook yet. Trump may not use the military against them, but he is planning economic coercion, basically tariffs and trade curbs. Now, this is what Trump said to allies and neighbors, people you are supposed to like. What about the rivals? For them, Donald Trump had a mixed message. He had a stern warning for Hamas in Gaza: return the hostages by January 20th, or all hell will break loose.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out.
To Russia, he was understanding. Trump said that Ukraine was a red line for Putin, and he blamed Joe Biden for crossing it.
A big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that.
Not surprising at all. Trump spent hours threatening to take over Greenland and Canada. He can't just turn around and blame Putin for doing the same. Trump also had a message for NATO. He wants members to increase their defense spending by how much? 5% of their GDP. In his first term, Trump had a similar demand. He asked NATO countries to increase military spending to 2% of their GDP. Back then, a lot of them complained, but eventually they came around. In 2021, only 6 NATO members set aside 2% of their GDP for defense. Now it is 23 members, 23 out of 32. We can debate whether it's the right policy or not, but the fact is, Trump succeeded the last time. And his presser yesterday makes a couple of things quite clear. One, Donald Trump believes that he has the mandate to do anything. He won the popular vote for the first time. He swept the Electoral College. He also gave the Republicans a majority in Congress. All of this has fed Trump's ego. He wants to redraw the world map, rename countries, and rename centuries-old water bodies, and turn neighbors into states. This has gone beyond pressure tactics. That's one point. And two, expect fireworks once he takes office. He may not actually use the military to attack his allies, but his rhetoric will force realignments, both among allies and rivals. So brace for a period of chaos and unpredictability.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines. Detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.